Hello everyone and welcome to this video on the Python programming language. So in this video I will analyze data to determine whether the stock market, specifically the S&P 500, exhibits higher returns during election years compared to non-election years. Now before we begin, if you like the videos on this channel, be sure to click that subscribe and like button. Also, you can get the code or dataset or just support the channel on Patreon at patreon.com/computerscience, and I will leave a link for that in the description below. Also, the material in this video is purely educational and should not be taken as professional investment advice. So with all that being said, if you're going to program along with me, go ahead and go to colab.research.google.com and log in using your Google account and start writing your code by clicking on File, then click on New Notebook, where a new tab will open up for you and eventually a new cell will open up for you. Now in this cell, I'm going to import the libraries that I plan on using throughout this program. So I'm going to import pandas as PD, and I'm going to import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and then I'm going to run this cell by clicking that button to the left. Okay, so it looks good. I'm going to create a new cell by clicking that code button in the top left. So next I'm going to read in the stock data for the S&P 500. So I'm going to create a variable called SP500. I'm going to set it equal to pd.read_CSV, and we're going to read in a file called sp500.csv. Okay, so I need to upload that file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on File, click on Upload here, and I'm going to upload sp500.csv. I get a little warning, it's okay, and there's the file. Okay. So next I'm going to show the data. So I'm going to show SP500. Let's go ahead and run it. Okay, and we can see SP500 has this date column. It also has this other column called date.1. I don't like it. And then it has these indices as integers. So we're going to get rid of those and make it the date instead. So that's easy enough. I'm just going to add those parameters, parse_dates, and I'm going to set it equal to true, and then I'm going to set index_call equal to date. Alright, so now I'm going to run this, and it looks like I misspelled parse, so let's run this again. Okay, and now we have our data set, but also I want to still have that date column, so I am going to create a new date column. So I'm just going to type SP500 and put date here, and I'm going to set this equal to SP500.index. Alright, and let's run this again. Alright, and now we have that date column. Okay. Alright, so everything looks good. I could get rid of this date.1 column, but I'm just going to leave it there for now. It shouldn't be a problem. So let's create a new cell. Okay, so now in this cell, I'm going to create some empty lists that I'm going to use later on. So the first one I'm going to call is date_SP500_election_years. So this will contain the date for the election years. Then I'm going to create another list called adj_close_SP500_election_years and set it equal to an empty list. So this will contain the adjusted close price for the S&P 500 during the election years. And now similarly, I'm going to do the same thing for the non-election years. So I'm just going to highlight both of these two variables, copy using Control C, come down, paste it using Control V, and then I'm just going to add in non here. So I'm going to put non underscore and non underscore here. So now these two will contain the date of the S&P 500 for non-election years and will contain the adjusted close price of the S&P 500 for non-election years. Okay. All right. So next I want to loop through the data to get the election and non-election years, and I guess I'll put that here to get the election and non-election years. So for I in range 0 to the length of the data set of the S&P 500, I want to know if the year is divisible by 4, then I know that it's an election year. So I want to get the election years, and that's how I'm going to do it. So if, and let me just say that all over again. So if the year is divisible by 4, then it is a US election year. And if it's not divisible by 4, the year, then it is not a US election year. All right. So I'm going to write my if statement, which is if SP 500 date at position I dot year mod 4 equals 0. So that means that this date is divisible by 0. Then we're going to be using these lists, these two lists right here. So I'm going to first append the date. So I'm going to type dot append that SP 500 date at position I, and I want to get the adjusted close price. So I'm going to type adjusted underscore close price underscore SP 500 underscore election underscore years dot append SP 500 ADJ close at position I. All right. Else the date is not divisible by 4, therefore it's not a US election year. Then we're going to do basically the same thing, but for the non-election years list. So I'm just going to highlight both of these, copy using Control C, come down here and paste them using Control V, and then I'm going to add in that non underscore. So right here, non underscore. Okay. And this should give me my adjusted close price and date for the election years and my adjusted close price and dates for my non-election years. So let's go ahead and add that C here and let's run this. All right, so I think everything went well. I'm going to create a new cell. Hopefully everything did go well. We will see. So next I'm going to create a empty data frame and store the election years data in a variable. So I'm going to create a variable called election underscore SP 500 underscore data and set it equal to PD dot data frame. Okay, and I'm just going to highlight this, copy using Control C and paste it using Control V and create a few columns for it. So I'm going to create the date column and it's going to be equal to, guess what, that date list that we created earlier. So I'm just going to come up here, I'm going to highlight all of that, copy using Control C, come down here and paste it using Control V. All right, and then I also want to create another column for this data set. So I'm going to come here, highlight it, copy using Control C, come down here, paste it using Control V, and create a new column called ADJ close. And I'm going to set this equal to, you guessed it, the list up here. So it's going to contain the adjusted close price. So I'm going to highlight this list, copy using Control C, come down here and paste it using Control V. All right, now I need to do the same thing for the non-election years. So I'm going to highlight all of that, copy using Control C, and paste it down here using Control V and change just a few things. So I'm going to add non here. So I'm creating a variable called non-election S&P 500 data. I'm going to add non here and add non here. Okay, and instead of this list here, we want the list here. So I'm just going to come up here, highlight it, copy using Control C, come down here and paste it using Control V, and then come up here for the adjusted close price list for non-election years. I'm going to copy it using Control C, come down here and paste it using Control V. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. All right, it looks good. I'm going to create a new cell. And now I want to get the average returns for both the election and non-election years. Okay, so I'm gonna create a variable called election underscore year underscore average underscore returns. And I'm gonna set this equal to election underscore SP500. Let's see, SP500, we want the adjusted close price dot PCT underscore change dot mean. Okay, that was a lot, and it looks like I misspelled election. So there we go. All right. And just to make sure, I'm just going to highlight this. So it's election data actually, right? So I'm going to highlight this, copy using Control C, come here and paste it using Control V. And there we go. So it's election underscore SP500 underscore data. All right. Now, if you see the pattern already, we're going to do the same thing for the non-election years. So I'm just going to highlight all of this. I'm going to copy using Control C, come down here and paste it using Control V, and change just a few things. So like before, I'm just going to add non in front of here with an underscore, and I'm going to highlight this here, copy using Control C, come here and paste it using Control V. All right, so now I'm getting the election year average returns and the non-election year average returns. So let's run this cell. All right, looks good. I'm gonna create a new cell. And now let's print the results of the average returns. So I'm gonna print average return in election years, and I'm going to put election underscore year underscore AVG underscore returns times 100, and I'm going to put a percentage here. All right. Okay, and I'm just going to highlight all that, copy using Control C, come down, paste it using Control V, and just change a few things. So here I'm going to put non-election years, and here will be non-underscore election year average returns. All right, so let's run this. Okay, and it does look like there is a difference, right? That's a pretty big difference. So let's go ahead and create a new cell. And let's create, well, let's just create another print statement. Print, we're going to print which year historically tends to go up. Or actually, we're going to print if the stock market tends to go up during an election year or not. All right, so we're just gonna have fun with this and do a quick small print statement. So if the election underscore year underscore average underscore returns are greater than the non underscore election underscore year underscore AVG underscore returns. I got to get better with naming this stuff. But if this is true, then we're going to print stocks historically tend to go up during election years based on this data. All right, else I'm going to print stocks historically do not show a clear tendency to go up or down during an election year based on this data. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. And of course, stocks historically tend to go up during election years based on this data. And I'm going to create a new cell. And I want to visualize this. So here we're going to create a bar plot to visualize the returns. So I'm going to type plt dot bar, and I'm going to put election years here, and we're going to put the election year average returns, and let's multiply that by 100. All right, and the color will be, I don't know, maroon, and the width will be equal to 0.4. And I'm just going to highlight all of this. I'm going to copy using Control C, come down and paste it using Control V, and then I'm going to have non-election years. All right, and we're going to get the non_election year average returns, and instead of maroon, it's going to be blue, and the width will be the same. Okay, and then let's give the x-axis a label. So I'm going to type plt.x label, and this is going to be years. Let's give the y-axis a label. So I'm going to type plt.y label. This will be returns, and let's give this a title. So I'm going to type plt.title election year versus non-election year. And maybe I'll put an S there for them, right? Election years versus non-election years. Okay, and I'm going to type plt.show. All right, so let's run this. Hopefully everything is good. All right, and there we go. So now we can see the difference more visually with the election years returns versus the non-election years returns. So in conclusion, it looks like the election years give a higher return for the S&P 500 than non-election years. So historically, it looks like stocks do tend to go up during election years, but please take this small analysis with a grain of salt. And thank you for watching the video. And a special thanks to the Patreon supporters on patreon.com. Again, if you would like to become a supporter of this channel or get the code or data sets, I will leave a link to that in the description below to patreon.com/computerscience. Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.